Scanning for audio.
Now it's time for something very special for all you kids and for all you grown-up fans of time travel-related drama.
Welcome to the Eating Up Podcast. Recorded using slightly better kit than last time. I've just returned from the Fab Cafe in Manchester for a particularly good cocktail event. It was small. There were far too many guests there, and by guests I mean, punters, us, the public. But Declan Baker, Celeste McCoy, Sophie, Fraser Hines, Mark Strickland, lots and lots of other people there. And as many conventions go, I truly enjoyed it. I know that I arrived late, meaning that I missed the beginning of the Big Finish talk. So if Big Finish made announcements to me after new writers or anything like that, I missed the boat on that one. And for which I may be kicking myself for the rest of my life. Now I've had the odd email from people saying that they only really like the Tinder podcasts that talk about new Doctor Who, or indeed TV Doctor Who, as they have no interest in Big Finish. If that's you, well, this podcast is merely a Big Finish update, covering the Doctor Who 8th Doctor season so far, and the latest Big Finish main series release, Mousetrap. So if you don't want to know about Celeste McCoy or Paul McGann's latest outings, I'm sorry. I'll see you next time. However, if you haven't just wandered off, let's start with the Magic Mousetrap, which is Big Finish 120, number 120, which is in anybody's mouths, marks the 10th anniversary. What is it? We'll get back to that later. Here's the trailer.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, The Magic Mousetrap.
All 7 tiles, a K on a triple word score, and a 50-point bonus!
What's extraordinary about Holbrook Sanatorium?
Oh, it's famous. If you need to expectorate into a kidney dish, then Holbrook is the place to do it.
What happened?
Something involving the medical director and several thousand bonds.
Sounds more like a coup than a cure.
It snuffed out Dr. Black like a threepenny candle.
Don't go in there, Doctor, for the sake of this mountain and everybody on it. Don't go in there!
I'm sorry, Ludo. It's the only way.
You'll regret it, Doctor!
I feel like a rat in a maze, Queenie. Every time I come within sniffing distance of a bit of cheese, someone clobbers me.
Or electrifies you.
Or whacks a shot of morphine into my bloodstream. Do people really come here to recuperate?
I take it you have recovered now, Doctor, after your accident?
Which one? I'm having them hourly.
Ace? Is this what it's like being the Doctor?
What do you mean?
You know, being the one who knows what's going on, but can't say what it is. Being the one with the master plan, and not know whether it's going to work out or send the universe down the plug hole.
Do you think, Dr. Comfort, that there might be a rodent in your medicine cabinet?
Rats love Switzerland. All the cheese, you know.
And you lay poison for them, do you?
Yes, we do.
They're clever little creatures, rats. They learn to ignore the bait. They learn that behind the wainscot there's no such thing as a free lunch. They learn to bite back.
We require uproar, singing and dancing, noise, anything that will stop them. Stop us from thinking straight.
Listen here, Doctor. Harry was taking potshots at the plaster with his old service revolver.
Why?
Trying to hit the thing behind the wall.
Did he get it?
We all have to do a turn. Tonight, in the ballroom.
It's a talent competition.
A concert party.
In these circumstances? With something nasty in the wainscot and patients running around with guns?
It's time for me to introduce you to the golden couple who will act as our compares for tonight. You've read about them in the press. It's the Honourable Mr. and Mrs. Bunty and Bobo Stetterton!
Can I be of any help, Mrs. Glasscock?
Oh, no, thank you. I was just...
Running out of the front door in the middle of Miss Luna's act?
What do you think, ladies and gentlemen? Should I keep quiet or open the box?
Keep quiet, please.
Open the box! Thank you, Miss Luna.
You don't know what you're doing, Doctor. Oh, Lord, it's happening. I'm remembering him. I'm finally remembering him.
Allow me to introduce an old enemy.
The quest with most Big Finish is to find the things you're very used to, the concepts, the narrative patterns, and take them from where you expect them to go and twist them on their heads. This has been happening quite a lot over the last few years. And in this story, the Doctor is the companion, is the person who doesn't know what's going on, while Ace and Hex definitely do. Or they think they do. It's also one of those stories that you can't genuinely discuss in any great depth without giving away who the villain is. And let's face it, from that statement you figured out it's a recurring one, or at least a returning villain, which isn't really here nor there. So sadly I can't really discuss the plot. Suffice to say that it takes place in a lunatic asylum somewhere in the Alps. Now as always the performances are particularly good, and the weak moments are fairly thin on the ground. However, the choice to make the seventh Doctor go snowboarding, admittedly to save his own life, is not amongst my favourite seventh Doctor moments. It ranks with the sort of thing that you would come across in the Happiness Patrol and pretend it didn't really occur. But if you can let that go, that's fine. It's not a bad story as such. It's well directed, well thought out, and gets around the use of, well, not using the original actor quite well. It's spooky in the right moments, it's disconcerting in the right times, but this story just quite didn't do it for me. Perhaps on a second or perhaps a third listen to, I'll find things that I kind of missed or skipped over the first time. And with that, I'll leave our seventh Doctor and move on to the eighth.
Hello, my name is Sophie Aldridge, and you're listening to Tin Dog Podcast.
As you're already aware, the eighth Doctor and Lucy are now reunited, and we now find ourselves at the halfway point in this third season of Eighth Doctor and Lucy stories. The second story being Hot House, the third the Beast of all, and the fourth, We're in Dawn. As has already been mentioned a few moments ago, the return of classic Doctor Who villains can be a bonus and also a hindrance in Doctor Who audio. It's a bonus in the sense that the audience already have an idea of the visuals connected to the character, what the creature does, its limitations, and so forth. But that's also can count against it. The audience are aware of how to defeat the monster. Because let's face it, Big Finish fans are almost always people who enjoyed the classic series. And with Hot House, you get the additional problem of the monster, and I use the monster rather than the race, being a creature that never actually spoke. The Crinoids have returned in Hot House, and I was a little bit worried about their use in audio. Let's face it, gratuitous rustling wasn't going to make the most threatening of monsters. A creature that was basically an axon sprayed green was never the most terrifying of things. But more of that after the trailer.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, Hot House.
There are 10 billion people in the world, so what does one person's life matter?
We have to save the planet before it's too late, by any means necessary.
You almost make it sound like a threat.
Hello, I'm Dr. John Smith. This is Miss Hazel Bright. We're from the World Ecology Bureau.
Kill me! I see what happens!
What matters is saving this planet for the future.
The threat is that if we don't act soon, the greater the consequences will be.
And that's something I'm prepared to die for. No, more than that, it's something I'm prepared to kill for.
Tell me about the Hot House.
Some sort of research facility. Everything's locked down. Total security blackout.
Let me out! You mentalist! You environmentalist!
Whatever they're doing there is top secret.
Good. I like finding out other people's secrets.
Excuse me, I'm looking for Dave. Hello?
Now, Doctor, if you'd be so kind as to come with me, we have work to do.
What is really the point of the Crinoids? I've often thought, and sadly being a Doctor Who fan, you know that's true, that the Crinoids are actually some sort of alien bioweapon. They turn up in a biosphere and completely dominated. There's no balance. They react very similarly to, well, mankind, by being the only dominant sort, at least turning it to their will. And I suppose that's what Doctor Who does best. He has alien races, he has monsters, rather than say Star Trek, which has, well, cultures, people you can chat with and reason with. But I'm digressing from my review of the story. And it's not a bad story at all. Okay, so I'm still not fond of the one-disc format, and I probably never will be, because I like my Doctor Who to last a while. But given the criteria of fitting into one disc, you've got to hit the ground running with a narrative. You've got to have the companion already in place playing enemy lines. And you can tick that box in the first 2 minutes. You've got to have well-established enemies. And to use that, it uses the old page trick of referring back to a news bit of footage. It's an info burst, which we can forgive because we've used that in Doctor Who so many times. And of course, the star of this episode has to be Nigel Planer. Yes, there's nods to the past with the World Ecology Bureau and things like that. But it's Nigel Planer, a much underrated actor. He played nearly the young ones who will ever be associated with that. But he's gone on to do some fantastic work. Who really takes this part, and basically he's playing Sting, an ex-rock star ecologist with ideas slightly more right-wing, or should they be left-wing? Well, then a good for the human race, who dominates this story. If anyone's looking for left-of-field casting for the new series, perhaps they should look more towards Nigel Planer in his light than to Lee Evans. Not that Lee Evans' performance in Planet of the Dead was anything other than what they'd paid for. But enough of that, I've discussed that elsewhere. All those tapes, they're difficult to translate to audio crinoids, and places them in a narrative. Of course, they have to find a way of giving the creature a voice, and that lends itself quite nicely to the narrative. Using something against you as a writer allows you to develop and take things further. It does work here, and it doesn't feel even remotely as rushed as the next audio. The Beast of Orlok. Here's its trailer.
Coming soon from Big Finish Productions, Doctor Who, The Beast of Orlok.
There is no Beast of Orlok, and there never was.
Sounds like there's a storm coming.
It's been so many years, his face may have changed.
With fangs like splinters, claws like knives, the Beast of Orlok gobbles lives.
It's all right, Baron. I'm here to help.
It killed them. Killed them all.
With brimstone breath and eyes aglow, he'll eat your soul. To hell you'll go.
The Beast of Orlok has returned to haunt us.
The Beast of Orlok is a myth. A silly fairy story. It doesn't exist. Trust me.
Now, if you'll kindly release us from this cell, we can get on and find this beast of yours.
Not so fast, Doctor.
No nemesis. No oblivion.
1828, I'd say, am I right?
Look, who are you?
I'm the Doctor, this is Lucy Miller.
Diabolical gypsies.
Perhaps it was a meteorite.
Everything's been ripped apart. Carriage, people, even the horses.
How many times do we have to tell you? We had nothing to do with those deaths.
Grave robbing, mutilation, murder. Yes, Baron, murder.
The devil doesn't change. He just gets more cunning.
You can't just barge into Castle Orlok like some muddy oaf and start bombarding his lordship with questions.
Oh, don't worry, I'll bombard him deferentially.
Good children. You know, I love you very much.
What's it all for? What were you working on?
Nothing less than the creation of life itself.
Otto Pausbacken is a scaremongering toad. He'd like nothing better than to keep this whole town in a permanent state of panic.
You're lying. That's why you came back, isn't it? To pick up where you left off 20 years ago.
What the hell was that?
So far, the Beast has definitely suffered, as far as I'm concerned, from being on only one disc. It feels like a four-part story. Its narrative is convoluted enough, there are enough characters to justify a much larger four-parter being part of the main Doctor Who run. There was actually points when I was listening to my downloaded version where I thought I may have skipped tracks or that my MP3 player was messing up. But no, a lot of the narrative
was near her. No one knew why it always happened at dawn.
Long after the evacuation of Earth, they forged out into space, and there were many battles to fight for survival.
Abandoned ship. Abandoned ship.
Escape pods! Now! With me!
Sounds like you're ready for a fall, darling.
What's that supposed to mean?
You've got him on a pedestal, your doctor friend. You better be careful he doesn't fall off.
Doctor Who, Wirren Dawn.
Wirren and humankind locked in a deadly struggle for survival.
Heavily armed spaceships versus big insects. Not much of a fair fight.
Don't let it touch you!
Open fire! Solway! Fire!
Wirren, this is the way it used to be.
BigFinish.com. Doctor Who, the Scapegoat.
Bonjour, monsieur!
Oh. It's not a question of whether or not he lives. It's a question of whether or not he's still in one piece once they've finished with him at Rue Fort.
Thanks, Moustache.
After him! On foot, you fools! He's getting away!
Paris?
Assurément. Voilà.
La douche écossaise. The hot and cold shower. The comedy before the tragedy.
No, the doctor. My doctor.
You can't leave.
She'll be screaming soon enough.
Massive power source is dragging us out of the sky.
You maniac! It's all gone wrong! He's dead!
A member of the German High Command was murdered by persons unknown.
You screamed beautifully, my dear.
By way of reprisal, I have ordered once more that 50 hostages be shot.
My love! I am not deserving of this gesture.
No! I want this aircraft found and its crew apprehended.
Is something the matter?
No, really.
Prisoner of the Gestapo. I think I feel a new play coming on.
You and Bleeding McGregor!
It is time for my date with Madame Guillotine!
BigFinish.com.
You have been listening to the Tin Dog Podcast. Doctor Who and its associated shows are all trademark of the BBC. No infringement is intended. Contact us at tin-dog@hotmail.co.uk.